Well, hello there. It's Dr. Jim. Thanks for coming back again, or perhaps you're seeing me for the first time. I'm a gerontologist and I've specialized in the aging process for 30 years. I present, train, educate, write articles, books, run 3 different companies, doing a lot, having a lot of fun. And I want to talk about to leadership out there: nursing home administrators, owners, operators, directors of nursing, HR directors, supervisors, managers. I love resident centered care so much that several years ago I wrote a book called The Person Centered Way: Revolutionizing Life in Long Term Care. You can find it on Amazon.com. I want to ask you the question: how resident centered is your care community? We all say, oh, we practice person centered care, resident directed care, so on and so forth. And I think to a degree, a lot of care communities around the country do. And then I think there are care communities who say they do, but they really don't. It's more of a marketing silver bullet for them. But I truly have a passion for this level and type of care and philosophy. So I want to challenge you. Today, I'm going to challenge you to really critically think about how resident centered your care community really is. Okay? Now, as a leader in senior care, have you tried to measure how resident centered you and your staff really are? You already know that resident centered care is an offshoot of the broader concept known as person centered care, and that it's not a program, it's not a cookie cutter thing, it's not something we put on a sheet of paper and you go do it and it's done. It's a philosophy, and it's a different way to view aging, seniors, and the work that is done within a care community. It's a different way of looking at quality of life. It provides a way to reframe, if you will, life in senior care. With this being said, how would you rank your staff and your organization as a whole in terms of providing high quality, resident centered care? Now, there are multiple viewpoints. We could look at the 30,000 feet level down. In order to gain some perspective on how well you provide resident centered care, we need to examine several components and qualities that are associated with this type of care, and then ask the question: how successful are you concerning this particular aspect that I'm talking about concerning resident centered care in your care community? While it might be difficult to provide every single thing that I talk about, I'm a realist. I live in Reelsville. Can't do it all. Might be able to do most of it, though. The more that I ask you about, the better. The more you say, yep, we do that, we do that. We haven't started that yet, but we're going to. But we've done that. Check, check, check. The more checks you have, the better. All right. Resident centered philosophy and the buy in from your staff. Let's start from scratch. The pillars of any person centered like approach include offering meaningful choices, treating seniors with dignity and respect, and allowing as much self determination as possible and reasonable. These are great in theory, but do your employees live and work by these values? Do they believe in providing the best life possible to those they care for? That's what resident centered care is: giving them the best life we can. Now, let's take it a step further. Is your staff, do your staff feel strong about these core values? Do they know their residents well enough to provide the kind of care and the best life that they want? Do they have a deep knowledge and understanding of their residents and family members? These are important building blocks of another fundamental aspect of resident centered care. One word, crucial: relationships. It would be difficult, if not impossible, to provide relationship based care with little or no information about the resident. Knowing them is one thing, understanding them. I know that this resident does this every day. I understand why they're doing it. See the difference between the two. So, how do you rate your staff so far? On the philosophy, on knowing the residents, on valuing them, on giving them their best life possible. What kind of grade would you give them in terms of providing meaningful choice, treating residents with dignity and respect, and allowing them to be in charge of their lives as much as possible? How do they rank on knowing their residents and understanding them as well as their family members? In other words, are they all in on this concept of resident-centered care? Let's move on. The importance of relationships, and something we have very little of and we're always trying to capture and hang on to: time. A little more time is needed on this topic because it's critical in delivering resident-centered care. It's also a complex topic that involves numerous qualities that can be examined and measured. For instance, any relationship that's worth having involves time. Time between you, the healthcare professional, the leader, your direct care staff, and the resident. Time itself is important because we can give time, we can share time, we can withhold it, and we can waste it. Other important aspects of relationships and time include the following: actively listening to what is said and not being said, holding meaningful conversations, creating meaning in tasks that are done together, offering meaningful choices, understanding the whole person physically, emotionally, spiritually, socially, attempting to fulfill their needs, and as their needs change, staying on top of that, encouraging being socially engaged, prioritizing tasks around what they want to do with their time, their preferences. So, do your employees feel rushed? I have to get to that resident and go to the next room and go to the next room. Or are they comfortable with the notion of taking some time with their residents? Do they have positive and healthy relationships with the majority of residents that they care for? Or do you catch your staff being engaged in meaningful, purposeful conversations with residents that they care for? Those are all important things to ask. Employees matter, and quality. You know it. I am preaching. I know I'm preaching, but you know what I'm talking about. Preaching to the choir. Hiring and retaining high performance employees who have positive attitudes and the heart for resident-centered care is a must. Period. When they find deep meaning and a higher quality or a higher calling in their work, they'll treat residents better. They'll also experience higher job satisfaction, and they'll probably stick around for a while. They'll be retained. Flexibility among your staff is a great quality to possess concerning resident-centered care. as you may be able to blend departments together or provide cross training. Being flexible is the key. Ultimately, this creates a more well informed and better prepared employee who will not be shy about assuming more roles, more accountability, and more responsibility. And don't we want that type of employee working for us? Does your care team exhibit these qualities? Do they find cross training more work, more stuff to be trained on, more learning, or opportunities to better themselves and the lives of the residents that they take care of? I'm a big fan of blending departments. I'm a big fan of cross training because when you're working short, you've got someone who's prepared. Now, leadership. You have not only a key role, but you've got the key role in resident-centered care. It's worth saying, so I'm going to say it. You cannot create and maintain a resident-centered care community without high-quality, engaged, and smart leadership. That being said, it takes a special kind of leader to change a culture from an institution to a warm, home-like place where employees are happy to work and their residents are living their best lives. Leaders need to know the names of all of their employees, residents, and their family members. They need to walk around with a smile on their face, even when they're not happy, and display a caring attitude. They should possess an all-hands-on-deck mentality when it comes to answering call lights, assisting during meal times, or any other time. Resident-centered leaders support their staff and show appreciation not only because it's the right thing to do, but because they know it's going to have a trickle-down effect. You are kind to your employees, they're happy, that happiness trickles down to the residents, to the family members, and everyone else. It spreads throughout your community. These leaders are also pretty sharp at selecting good candidates to begin with and hire them who are going to jump on board the resident-centered train. Come on board. We need all the good help we could get. Other essential qualities to think about. Mental check mark, okay, in your brain. Transform employees with good attitudes into professionals with great talent and skill. Are you actively doing that? Work with staff at every level, every department as a family. Continually monitor for areas that need improvement and do something about it. Seek to know your staff, really get to know them, and try to help fulfill whatever needs they may have. Be flexible with schedules. Say thank you multiple times a day or a shift. Offer your team autonomy. Recognize and reward employees who are really going above and beyond. Set clear expectations. Maintain consistent disciplinary procedures because that's a part of being a great leader too. Remain transparent and honest. Invest time, energy, and information in orientation right out of the gate and in ongoing training. Now, you get to grade your leadership team and yourself based on all the things I just talked about. How do you stack up? Is everyone in your community known by their name? Is your leadership team a positive influence on the rest of the staff? Are they all willing at the administrative staff, managerial staff, supervisory staff, are they willing to jump in and get their hands dirty when they have to? The use of physical space I want to talk about now concerning resident-centered care because it makes a big difference. Think about your home, how you use the physical space within rooms and throughout your whole house. The spaces in which residents receive care, they dine, they socialize, and relax, are all important. But the meaningful activity and the life that goes on in them, those are way more important. Residents want a personalized, comfortable living space, and they want to call it their own. That's important. Here are some resident-centered spaces within a community to think about. Maybe you have these, maybe you're working on these, maybe you have not thought of these whatsoever. Obviously, a chapel, a spiritual room, a room for prayer, reflection, or meditation. Private dining for special occasions, for family events, birthdays, so on and so forth. Neighborhoods or smaller group living spaces. A fitness or an exercise room, area, or space. Outdoor areas that are really comfortable, enjoyable. They're inviting. The minute you see it, you'll want to go out there and sit down and relax. Restaurant style dining, restaurant style dining room, and the whole experience. May I take your order? Spa like shower rooms, beauty parlors for ladies, and barbershop style for men, or just spas in general. And maybe perhaps having a general store that residents can work in. Those are all nice ideas. So how do you grade on your community's use of space? Is it highly creative? Is it innovative? Is it sterile, institutional? Does it look like a mini hospital? Because I don't think too many people want to live in mini hospitals anymore. They did 30, 40, 50 years ago. Here are my final thoughts. Resident-centered care is here to stay, and it's only going to become more refined and customized with each passing generation that live in them. We're going to be replacing the seniors who are there now. Our kids are going to be replacing us in the future. Our grandkids are going to be replacing all of these prior generations eventually. And with each passing generation, there are unique wants, desires, preferences, lifestyles. Most communities around the country have developed some type or level of resident-centered care, and others have not yet begun that journey. While there are obviously lots of moving parts and pieces involved in this type of care, the more you and your team can develop a resident-centered care philosophy, the better it will be for everybody involved, including, obviously, your residents, family members, your staff, leadership, the community at large, and everyone outside of your community will know the good things you're doing inside. So, that was kind of long-winded, but there was a lot to cover. I've got a great article for you to read. If you just watched the video, you don't have to read the article, but share this with somebody. Share the article if they like to read. Share the video if they like to watch and listen to me. But my name's Dr. Jim, and I hope you keep coming back because I love writing and I love shooting these videos and talking to you directly. Take care. Well, I certainly hope you enjoyed the video, and thank you very much for your time. If you'd like more information about a great online learning management system with the most wonderful support, best in class support and partnering, please look for the link to the website in the description. You'll love what you see.